when you think about flow, is there a specific time that comes to your mind where you're like, dude, I was in it, like feeling it?
Yeah, you know, the funny thing about being in the flow state, or if you have experienced it, because I feel like I have in fights, and there's other times where I have not.
Totally.
But you don't really quite realize it until you're able to get past it and then reflect on it and look back and say, okay, now I feel that one was different. I was definitely in the flow state, and that, you know, because obviously with my profession, it's, you can't be so rigid and expect something to be, this is my game plan, this is how it's going to go, because it's just like you're tied onto a tornado, and there's just so much atmospheric emotions around you with everybody in the arena, and you're fighting a guy who may or may not be the guy that you trained for, in the sense that, okay, I thought he was going to come out southpaw and he came out orthodox, or I thought he was going to go more wrestling, but he wants to stand here and box with me. So you can't be so rigid and focused on how you want things to go, because if you're just focused on that, then whenever things start going awry or things start going differently, then you weren't prepared for that. So almost, for me kind of having my hands open in the sense where, like, I'm ready for what is about to happen. I'm okay with the uncertainty that is about to happen.
Yeah.
And then being in it, trying to make split-second decisions while also being taxed physically, emotionally, in the fight itself, you know?
Totally. It's interesting, because it is like, uncertainty is almost, it almost takes away from flow, because when you're in flow, you're in such a repeatable motion in something, that the environment that you know so well. Like, you can just get into a car and you don't know where you're driving, in a sense. And it's the ability, like I was talking to this guy, Rich Davini, who writes Attributes, was a Navy SEAL leader. He said that the ability to task switch. So go from, like, you think this is coming, and quickly flip the switch. Quickly flip the switch. I don't know, do you think that's something that, like, when you say I think there's an interesting point where you say you walk in there with open hands of embracing uncertainty, but how do you tap into flow state if you don't know what's coming? Because it almost, like, flow states, you're not reactive. You're just, you're going. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you're able to subconsciously respond.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when I know I've looked back and thought, man, that felt like I was really in the zone, so to speak, there, where I was able to make those split-second decisions, but they were more calculated split-second decisions and responding more than I was just reacting. But in a sport like mixed martial arts, where it's a 5-minute period in a round, it's a very, very long time.
It's a long time.
If you've ever watched a fight and guys are just getting after it, girls are getting after it, whatever, and then all of a sudden you look at the clock and there's still 1:45 left. There's still almost 2 minutes left. They've only gone through a half to maybe even 3/4 of the round. And there's still a lot of time left on the clock. So managing and negotiating the cardio aspect of it, while also not hitting the brakes too much. You know, I'm a very in-your-face, come forward, foot on the gas kind of guy. But also, if I can do that while also trying to navigate what is happening in front of me, you know, I like to be in control when I'm in there. I'd rather be in control and then get countered rather than waiting back and getting offensively hit, if that makes sense.
Totally,
you know,
makes
my
sense.
defense sometimes is my offense, you know?
Yeah, so it's almost like two parts. Let me try to break this down. So it's like, you are on the attack. You are in your face coming at him, but you're almost like Matrix mode, watching punches go by you while you have your game plan. So it's two different things. Is there a time, a fight, where you felt like that, where things, because ultimately, flow in the focus, where flow and focus, time just slows down. It's super slow.
There was, and that's the hard part about mixed martial arts. And you just saw it this past weekend. Israel Adesanya was a very dominant champion for I mean, he lost and then came back, but he's shown that he's one of the most dominant guys in the UFC, right? But he just had a really off night, you know, and that's not to take anything away from Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland just, similar to what I'm saying, had his foot on the gas, just kept attacking, never let is he get into his rhythm? You know, we talk about this in mixed martial arts a lot, is if you can do something to take a guy out of his rhythm, then he's not able to think clearly and be able to mount an attack toward you, right? So for me, there was a fight when I won the Bellator world title against Patricky Pitbull. Patricky Frede is his name. And I remember in that fight, and the fight didn't last a long time. I knocked him out in the first 2 minutes or so. But in that 2 minutes, it was the first time in my career where I was really actually thinking and seeing both feet, seeing both shoulders, both hands, seeing where his head was, and watching his mannerisms, watch how I would throw a feint, whether I would feint the right hand or hit him with a hard jab, and watch the way that he reacted or responded, and then set a trap and then ended up knocking him out with the right hand. But it was when you can be in the driver's seat like that.
How did you slow it down like that?
I don't know.
Do you know?
That's the question.
Key,
that's the question we try to figure out as athletes, or even people studying athletes, or translating this to business, to your family life, whatever avenue you're looking at. But I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is I don't believe that if you haven't done everything right leading up to the time, the competition, the bright lights, when the cage door closes, or whatever it may be, there's always going to be things that are going to go right or wrong. But when things do go wrong, if you know that you hadn't put in the work, if you know you didn't live with the right amount of discipline, if you know you didn't do everything that you needed to do, you're going to find a way with being okay with losing. So that's why I've always been so diligent about doing the small things right my entire career, because ultimately in our sport, that's why they call it the puncher's chance. You can get knocked out by anybody in the world. It doesn't matter if you're a 2001 underdog or a 2001 favorite. You get hit on the wrong spot, you're going out. It's over. Or you might get caught in a weird choke or something, you know. So it's very uncertain.
Do you think, like, because that's a good point in the preparation of everything that you do in practice is every detail, every little thing that's going to set you up to be able to step in the ring or in the cage and not even have to think? Because do you think there's a thing of like, if you go into the cage and you're thinking, well, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do that, then you tend to, you get to that overthink, and then there's that slight, the supplementary motor cortex is a 0.1 second where there's hesitation, and then if you hesitate, obviously you're knocked out. Do you think it's like it all comes in the deep practice moments of the preparation?
Well, yeah, I think it's actually much deeper than the practice. I think the practice is only a small portion of it. The practice for me, it's going to bed at the right time, waking up at the right time, supplementing perfectly, eating correctly. I mean, if you take a guy through two simultaneous training camps, but there's a guy over here who maybe he cheated on his diet a little bit, or he had a little alcohol, or whatever these things that he can't do. Like, I have my non-negotiables that I'm not going to do when I'm really training and focused for a fight, right? You're not going to see me at Chick-fil-A or eating Taco Bell. Like, I have to. But if I did, the physical detriment wouldn't be as bad. I'd still make weight, but it wouldn't be as bad as the mental detriment. Me knowing that I'm eating what I shouldn't be eating, or I'm staying up late, or I'm choosing to go do this thing instead of being diligent with the small things. Because ultimately, that moment you get your hand raised, or that moment someone holds up the Lombardi Trophy, or the moment you win the Stanley Cup, that was the culmination, but it was all the little things leading up to that. And I believe a lot of guys' careers have been left on the table, or they could have achieved a lot more had they just been a little bit more disciplined when it counted leading up to it. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect, because trying to strive for perfection is impossible, and you can't. You'll never be perfect. But if you know you can do to the best of your ability the small things, then it will translate into, call it luck, call it fate, call it whatever. These things have a way of figuring themselves out. The better person on that night usually wins. He who did the most, he who trained the hardest, he who has the champion spirit, he who believed the most. So all these little things leading up to that one big getting your hand raised.
All right, so I've been asked multiple times, am I still in college? No, I'm not. I kind of wish I was. But the reason I get asked that is because my skin still looks so young. I'm far from college, trust me. And I haven't always had the best skin either, like blemishes. Just 6 months ago, I had a huge, massive breakout, but that doesn't happen anymore. And honestly, it is because of OneSkin. I'm a true believer in what OneSkin is doing. They are addressing the skin at a molecular level, targeting root causes, not just the topical and trying to take blemishes away, but they're working on the root cause of what ages skin and functionalities and makes it feel and look younger. And they can actually reverse the age of your skin. Yeah, nobody else is doing that. My wife and I, Taylor, who's got beautiful skin, even more beautiful now, we went up to headquarters in San Francisco and watched how it all was done. Growing skin, the testing that they're doing, their OneSkin body, OneSkin prep, OneSkin topical supplement. They're changing it. They are reversing. They are anti-aging, reinvented. So OneSkin, if you want your money maker, your skin, the biggest organ in your body, to be taken care of at the best level, this is for you. OneSkin.co, C-O, and the code for 15% off is David15. The link will also be in the show notes. That's OneSkin.co, David15. And reverse your age.
No, I think you're the epitome of that. It's having talent, discipline, and consistency. That is the formula. You've seen a lot of people with talent.
Yeah, well, that's always. Like, I get young people asking me all the time, "Hey, man, what's the secret?" Literally, the secret is exactly what your peewee football coach told you. It's like work hard, show up on time, be a person of good reputation, do the little small things right, and then, if you got a little bit of talent to go with it, and then if you continue to build your body and build your athletic abilities, eventually it's going to work out for you. You just have to, be patient.
Isn't it funny? Like, this is a little off the focus topic, but like success isn't hard.
No.
The formula is really easy. The execution is the challenge because people want to give up and they want to have some kind of pill or some kind of shortcut. And the best answer is exactly that. Hard work over years and years and years. There you go.
It's literally
and not giving up. Yeah, there you go.
It's literally, if you could like put, who's the kid in Good Will Hunting, Matt Damon, when he's That's not what success looks like. The success literally looks like 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. It's the easiest formula of all times, and a lot of times we don't not reach our goal because of a roadblock that stopped us. There was just a very enticing and easier path to a lesser goal that we decided to go toward. And sometimes that's the small chipping away of, well, I can have one burrito today, or I can stay out late tonight, or I'm gonna sleep in today, or I'm gonna skip my morning routine, or I'm gonna skip this call with my mentor, or whatever it may be. Yeah. Those small little concessions that we make towards our dreams that I'm guilty of. We are all guilty of it. You're never going to be perfect, but to the average person, it's the small little things that add up to those big ones.
Yeah, dude, so good. And that discipline, even higher than that, is devotion. Devotion to your family, wife, kids, what you have in your big picture. All right, so talking with Jordan and Kobe's mental coach, George Mumford, he said one thing that they would do every practice was try to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I know that's cliche to say, but like do something a little bit out of the norm, because it's almost when your brain gets too repetitive in something. Like, let's say, for example, you put a motivational quote on your fridge. After about 11 days, the mind becomes mute to that. And so there's this ever transforming challenge of how do you continue to, obviously get the reps in to become to that level of unconscious competence, like where it's just natural to you, but continuing to challenge yourself to push that proverbial ceiling higher. Does that make sense?
It does. And actually I've experienced this recently, because the funny thing is, and you talk about Kobe and Jordan and these guys at the highest level, and we could all sit here and say, man, those dudes get after it, they grind, but to them, it's probably not that hard.
Right.
You really do get used to it. And even me, like I love that people think I'm this really, really hard worker. And I do. I work extremely hard and I push myself, but it's not that hard for me. Yeah. Once God had created us to be able to continue to level up every single workout, every single day, adding layers to our human, right? And at some point, what I do is actually really, really easy for me because I've put in all the work. So I have to find ways that, for me, cold water therapy over the last about 8 months was something that I was avoiding. I was pushing it off. I'm like, someday I'll do it. I'll figure it out. But really, it was a fear of mine. I did not like cold water. I could not withstand the discomfort, the pain, so to speak, of it. And I sat down one day and I thought, you know what? I want to be a world champion fighter. I want to be the man that I promised my wife I would be. I want to be the man that I promised my sons I would be. But I'm afraid to go sit in this water, right? And you start to challenge yourself in those ways. And the funny thing is, to people, they probably look at my workouts and say, man, like, that must be really hard for him. No, that's the easy part. Yeah. Getting punched and getting knocked out, or the fear of getting knocked out, the cuts and the stitches and the injuries, that stuff's not that bad to me, because I've built myself into that. But going to sit in that water, that's really, really, really painful and bad for me. So if I can make that small victory a couple times a week, whatever I decide it is, or even just being disciplined with, okay, I'm going to wake up at 5:30 and I am going to do my morning routine. I am going to read my devotional. I know this path right here leads to a better day, which then turns into a better week and a better month and a better year. So it's those things that the average person looks at and says, well, those are easy. Going to sit in water for 3 minutes, going to, waking up a little bit early and reading your devotional. But those are things for me that I had to really get out of my comfort zone in order to find new ways to challenge myself. Because I'm never going to be able to really challenge myself in these workouts. Not that I'm some superhuman guy.
No, that makes sense.
But you get to the
you've
point.
Been doing.
Yeah, you get to the point where I could pass out and puke, and it still wasn't that bad because I've already done it 1,000 times, right?
Yeah,
but
totally.
The water.
But it's the outside things.
It's the little things where you talk about leveling up your human.
Yeah, man, that is. I love that point, because you often think about that it has to be something in your sport, but it's probably something else. So it all accumulates to you, and you walk in the cage of, I've got my game plan, I'm going to attack, and I've already done all the work. I have all the. I don't have to fear. I feel sometimes if you like it's all about getting into flow state and how long you can continue to ride that out. Because once, it's a weird thing, because once you're in flow state and you think, well, I'm in flow state, it automatically kicks you out. So how do you I don't know the answer to this, but that is the key. How do you make it the endurance of the flow state longer? Yeah,
I think one thing too, and I say this and I say it all the time, and people probably think I don't want to be a champion, or I don't care about winning, but ultimately, I really don't care if I win or lose. I really don't, because no matter what, win, lose, or draw, my God still loves me, my family still loves me, and I still love me.
Dude, that's the best.
And to some people, they think, well, that's not how an athlete should be. An athlete should hate losing more than they love winning, and all these cliche things that we've heard. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. I don't want to lose. I want to win.
Yeah.
But also, being okay with me going out there and losing as I step into the cage. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not trying to manifest that. But me being okay with that gives me an extra level up to be able to go out there and fight freely. I'm going to fight freely and find that extra level of myself, because I'm not so worried about losing, or so worried about making mistakes, or so worried about what that guy might bring to the table. I'm only worried about me, and I'm only worried about me going in there, and if I win, I win. If I lose, I lose.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to get my hand raised.
Okay, so what I'm about to tell you is going to literally blow your mind. It did mine. For a month now, I have been trying out GoEXec. I'm going to tell you what this is. So just to preface, I always look for the extra added advantage, the 1% edge. And usually it's something physical, or, it's something mental, but I've never found the balance of the two. And it's crazy, because as being a type A, very driven person, and I want to just have great impact, I don't get a whole lot of sleep. I work a lot of hours. There is stress, frequent travel. Raise your hand if you can, you really relate to that. But what GoEXec is doing is the mental and physical balance. Now, they bridged the gap between mental health, physical health, high quality, scientifically formulated nutraceuticals. So let's have an ingredient spotlight here. BioPQQ. You know what that is? Yeah, I didn't either, but now I do. Energy, endurance, and longevity. Scientifically shown to slow the aging process, increase energy levels, and improve cognitive function. It has won award after award for the best ingredients that are used for the mental and physical performance of best science. PQQ is naturally occurring essential nutrient found in foods such as kiwi, green peppers, potatoes, tofu, and green tea. So what GoEXec is doing, they're putting this into pill form, and you literally, physically, and mentally are more focused, less stress, longevity, you're on fire. It's been great for me. And for me, being a high performer, it's tough to see the change a lot, but I actually have been feeling it. And what GoEXec is doing, because they are so cool, awesome people over there at GoExec.com, GoExec.com, stands for Go Execute, 20% off. David Nurse 20 is going to be your code. David Nurse 20 at checkout. GoExec.com. Trust me, you're going to be on fire like I am. Go check it out right.
I think that's one of the most key points people don't talk about.
Yeah.
Your freedom comes because your identity is not tied to a win or a loss.
Yeah.
That's a lot of self-induced pressure if that is your identity.
Yeah, and
that is good.
Well, I think and ultimately too, what is pressure? Like, I mean, there's the subconscious pressure, and then there's the conscious pressure where you actually feel it.
Yeah, totally.
And if you can pull that conscious pressure out, and there's always going to be some sort of subconscious pressure.
No doubt.
Always. But if you can just honestly, like when I'm going into a fight, I'm excited to be there, and I really am probably the only guy in the arena, aside from the people who are rooting for the other guy. All of my fans who want to see me win, they want to see me win, and they're probably going to be more devastated after a loss than I am, because ultimately I'm living a dream. I'm doing what I love, what God has called me to do, what I love to do, and ultimately the result is going to take care of itself. I already did the preparation, and now comes the being at peace in the midst of battle, and see where the chips fall.
Preparation, peace in the battle. Is there any type of visualization or triggers that you use before you go in, like right at the moment? Is there anything you do in that sense?
No, yeah, I mean, I think the flip of the switch kind of comes as soon as my walkout hits, my walkout music hits, and I'm kind of going out there. Then I'm kind of just going into a different person. But before that, I mean, it's in the locker room, just listening to. I usually only listen to one or two songs. I usually keep them on repeat. But no, I mean, I don't really have that pre-fight routine really, because the problem is.
I actually like this point. Actually, I know what you're gonna.
Because they're always in different arenas.
Totally.
Sometimes I'm the main event, and I got this big old place, and then there's a big old 1,000-foot room, and it's me and my team. And then sometimes I'm stuck in a room a quarter of that size with 3 other people. And then sometimes it's very cold in the arena. Sometimes it's very hot. Sometimes, you can't be so rigid about, well, I have to have this and I have to have that, because you're not going to have that every single time.
Totally, man.
So I try to just be like, I don't really have much of a routine. I probably could do better at it. I read the book How Champions Think by Bob Rotella. And it was a golf book, which back then, it's funny, we're playing golf tomorrow, right? But I hated golf back then. So I picked it up off the shelf at an airport, read something. It might have mentioned golf, but I was like, How Champions Think, great book. I'm going to buy it. Get on the plane, I'm like, flip through the first. I'm like, this is about golf. I hate golf. This is stupid. And then I started reading through it, and I read it cover to cover, and then I've read it like 3 or 4 more times, because the similarities between that individual sport and then my individual sport, and then how he always talked about a pre-swing routine and all that kind of stuff. I probably could do better about actually being more diligent about the pre-fight routine, but it's always different. So therefore, I don't really try to do it.
I mean, because then if you have a routine, and then if something goes off routine, then we become prisoners to our habits and our routines. I think there's something about the adaptability that you have of like, I've done my preparation. I know my identity does not lie in what the results are. I'm not basing anything off what my routine is. I'm attack mode. Yep. And man,
I think that's definitely part of it, where you just have to kind of be fluid in there. And just like, well, I'm here and I'm the guy who's strapping on the gloves, but I'm also the atmosphere or the event, the process. I am part of that, and I can't control said process. So I'm just going to be there, and when it's my time to go, I'll go.
Yeah. Is there anything I'm not asking you about flow or focus that you can think of, like, dude, I think this is really important?
No, I mean, I do think, because you did mention visualization, and I do think even just uttering the words that I'm going to find myself in a very good flow state in this fight, or I'm going to, if I can visualize myself, my next fight is against Conor McGregor. If I can visualize myself with Conor in front of me, and I know how I'm feeling, if I can tap into how I'm feeling in my visualization, what I'm feeling of that future me.
Yeah.
Because if you can visualize it more, you can visualize what it feels like, what it looks like, what it smells like, all of those different things, how the fight's going to go, how you don't want it to go sometimes too, being in a bad position and then overcoming a bad position. It's not just.
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, it's not just I'm winning and I just go out there and just absolutely dominate him. It's like, no, he's dominating me.
How do you adjust to that? So you've already seen it go through in that, yeah.
And I can visualize myself pulling myself up from the ashes after a round, or fighting my way out of a bad position, feeling myself being dead tired and getting a second wind, or whatever it may be. Yeah. Because then also you've already seen it, and you're able to do those mental reps and rehearsals, if you will. And I think visualization is something I didn't do at all in my college wrestling days that I started doing when I came into mixed martial arts. And then having that mental highlight reel as well, where writing those things down of all the times that I over exceeded my expectations of what I was capable of, and patting myself on the back for those things. I think
totally.
Some people don't have a problem with it. Some people have a huge problem with being proud of themselves and being proud of what they've done, proud of what they've accomplished. I was one of those guys where, I would win a match. I would beat a guy I wasn't supposed to beat. I would win the Bellator world title. It's whatever. I was supposed to do that. No pats on the back, no stopping to smell the roses. I'm going forward. I got to go to the next thing. But if we can really just love ourselves and be proud of ourselves, that's not a bad thing. Now, if I stand here and we're having a 30-minute conversation and I come off cocky and arrogant and pompous and narcissistic and all those things, of course, there's ways to handle yourself. But me, in the realm of my mind, between the safe four walls of my house, I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror and think I'm the best fighter in the world. I'm going to be the best father in the world. That I am going to be a billionaire. That I'm going to rub elbows with people that I never thought I would. Now, if I sit here and tell you that on maybe the first day that we meet, you're like, okay, this guy's a little over the top, right?
Nah, yeah.
But just be proud of yourself and visualize yourself succeeding, and then also patting yourself on the back when you do succeed, because it does take. We underappreciate or underemphasize how much work it has taken to get to certain accomplishments.
Dude, absolutely. And winding up on that note, like. I think a lot of people, they bubble themselves, they glass ceiling themselves, because they think, well, who am I to be able to, say, earn $1 billion? Most people have a number that they can hit. You can't get above that. Or who am I to make it out of my town? You come from small town Missouri. Everybody, we know, same thing. Like all our high school friends are pretty much still in that same town, because they have that limiting mindset and they don't allow themselves to think bigger or, congratulate themselves when they do something great. That's powerful, man. You have a presence about you that you're just like, and I think this is a really key point to focus, is just dancing in the fire. No matter what's happening, man, I'm a dance in the fire, because there's a fourth in the fire with you.
Yeah. Well, actually, a mutual friend of ours, John Gordon, right?
Yeah.
So to piggyback on that, because I did his show, and then we got done off air. We were just talking, because I was talking about small guy from a small town, taught to do small things, right? And I was like, yeah, John, I just wish I could get rid of him. I wish I could just behead him and send him on his way. And he's like, well, but then why would you need God? Then why would you need a higher purpose? Why would you need, if you were able to just get rid of all of those demons, all the self-doubt, if you can get rid of all that small guy,
you're right, man.
You need him. And ultimately, I used to hate him. I used to be like, gosh, I just want to get rid of him and move on to the next area of my life. But ultimately, I'm so thankful for him, because he has helped shape me. And I always say, like, I'm not going to be able to get rid of him, but I've gotten really good at duct taping his mouth shut to the basement of my mind, right? He's always going to be there with me. Because he is me and I am him, but I have made peace with him and I have moved on past him. So it was kind of a very aha moment for me when he said that. I was like, that's very true.
That is very true, yeah. Like in that past part of you that's the little you. That's the little Mikey. Like given a name, like the alter ego, the reverse alter ego effect, that's you at the past. It's always with you, it drives you, but like we wouldn't need God.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a great way to end it.
Yeah, I like that.
Beautiful, brother.
Thank you.
Amazing.